Dude, the Philippines has a very rich boating history and supported by firm history and archaeology even. The Balangay, however, was not the largest ship in the ancient Philippines. Let's see what it was. Welcome to 100 Clues. The Philippines is the ancient land of gold known as Ophir in the Bible and history. No, it's no fable, and this has already been proven in full in the God Culture's Solomon's Gold series. At the request of many viewers, we have pulled out 100 compelling clues, really proofs or evidences, from this research in which we will highlight briefs of the most compelling points. And yes, there are over 100. These videos are for those who have not had the time to watch Solomon's Gold series, and easy to share to friends and family, especially skeptics. This brief video cannot replace that 50-video series, nor prove the way that it does, but this will be very effective nonetheless. So go there for full evidence, but now, part 27 of our series, 100 Clues, the Philippines is Ophir, one clue at a time. Back to Pigafetta's journal, in which 4 copies survive in Yale, the British Museum, and Italy, I believe. Translated into English, and that is the one, of course, we're going to use. For those wanting a copy, it is available on Wikisource in English even. For those requiring that we acquire an original, you can go to Yale and see if they'll give you a copy. Pretty sure they won't. March 22nd, 1521. The above-mentioned people, this is Pigafetta's journal, who had promised us to return, came about midday with 2 boats. Their hair is very black and long, reaching to the waist, and they carry small daggers and knives ornamented with gold and many other things, such as darts, harpoons, and nets to fish like, wait for it, and their boats are like ours. There goes that Pigafetta again. Gee, he just didn't know what he was talking about, right? Oh, some would attempt to have us all believe that, but he has already been confirmed, not only as the qualified expert he is, and an eyewitness, which no modern scholar was, but also, archaeology says Pigafetta was pretty exact in his descriptions. Now, let's find out the largest ships of the ancient Philippines. First, Pigafetta observes and records. Towards the northwest is the island of Luzon, which is at 2 days' distance a large island, to which come to trade every 6 or 8, or every year, 6 or 8 junks of the people called lucos. Now, what is a junk? A junk is a large ship we'll cover. Now, we dealt with this a couple of videos ago on Magellan. Magellan equated these lucos as Ophir and Tarshish. Lucos is Luzon, or Lucan, which you'll see Lucan, Luconia, on some ancient maps even. And even more specifically, Ilocos is Lucos, or Ilicanos especially. Okay, 6 to 8 junks from Luzon, large ships. Now, did Pigafetta know what a junk ship was? Of course he did. And the term is not Chinese, as some assume. We'll cover that too. But he well knew that the Spanish called certain ships junks. So did the Portuguese. So did the other explorers. And so did the Malays. So did the Filipinos. And so did the Chinese. So you can see that this was a common term in this part of the world especially. And one must wonder whether maybe they picked it up from there. Now, he doesn't stop there, though. Pigafetta writes, "We met a junk, a large ship, which was coming from Borneo. We made signals to it to strike its sails, but as it would not obey, we overtook it, captured and pillaged it." Way to go, evil guys. It had on board the governor of Palawan, with a son and a brother of his. So, what did they do? Well, what any good person would have. Let's see. "We made them all prisoners and put them to ransom." Because that's what followers of the Bible do, right? I mean, don't you take your neighbors captive and ransom them off on a regular basis? Because, hey, that's fun, right? Is that not in the Great Commission? Go into all the world and make you prisoners for ransom, right? No, it is not. Whose fruits are these? Who steals, kills, and destroys? Not Yahusha nor Yahuwah, not the apostles nor the prophets. Those are Satan's fruits, from John 10:10, and it's time to root these evil seeds out of the Philippines as it rises in judgment with this generation. Now, we'll get there. But again, is Pigafetta merely teasing here? Not at all. He keeps mentioning this junk ship in relation to the Philippines. Is he mistaking this for something else? Actually, this one he describes in very great detail. Let's take a look. The junks mentioned several times above are their largest vessels. See, even Pigafetta says he mentions them several times, and he does. And they are constructed in this manner. Okay, so there's really not going to be any mistaking what the ship is. Check this out. The lower part of the ships and the sides to a height of 2 spans above the waterline are built of planks joined together with wooden bolts. Wooden bolts. That's an Asian staple. Now, here's what's funny. 2 spans above the waterline is a huge ship, 2 stories tall above the waterline, which it would be about the same below the waterline. Imagine that. This is a massive ship, but he'll tell us more so we can get a good idea. And they are well enough put together, so he's actually impressed with their construction. The upper works are made of very large canes for a counterpoise. One of these junks, get this is huge, carries as much cargo as our ships. What? If they have the same cargo capacity as the Spanish, then the ships are essentially the same size. Wow. The Philippines had ships as large as the Spanish. Now, that's not exactly what we are all taught in classrooms, is it? No. The masts are of bamboo and the sails of bark of trees. Okay, so in his encounters, there are at least 8 to 10, maybe more, of these junk ships mentioned. Are they Chinese in origin? No. They are specifically identified as belonging to Ophir and being their construction. And wait till we show you Pinto's account, which confirms this. You do realize Magellan's ship, the Victoria, was an 85-ton ship, about 70 feet in length or so. This is monumental, especially as tall as these ships are. The Philippines was a force at sea. This is why the Portuguese didn't even try to conquer it. And Spain actually lost royally in the first battles, especially the one at sea, when Ophir came down and kicked them out. Taking casualties, yes, but accomplishing their purpose nonetheless. Spain left. This next battle should be known to every Filipino and the world, because this show of force by the ancient Philippines tells us much, and it is extremely rare. Later, after Magellan was killed in battle by the Ophirians, who won the first battle with Spain, then his brother-in-law Barbosa was killed in another victory for Ophir. Now, the Spanish will be chased out of Ophir and Sheba by an Ophirian fleet of ships. They have more firepower, yes, but check this out. On Monday, the 29th of July, we saw coming towards us more than 100 prahus, divided into 3 squadrons, and as many tungalis, which are their smaller kind of boats. Bear in mind, meaning prahus are larger than that. And as many, so let's see, 100 plus 100, and there's going to be more coming, that'd be over 200 vessels. Now that is an armada of ships, a navy. Did you know the Philippines had a navy? They certainly did. At this sight, and fearing treachery, we hurried set sail and left behind an anchor in the sea. So they were scared out of their minds. They'd already lost 2 battles. And they left their anchor and hustled out of there. Our suspicions increased when we observed that behind us were certain junks. There's those junks again, which had come the day before. Our first operation was to free ourselves from the junks, a wise move, against which we fired. Now this is where they were able to be successful to a degree, but they do not win the battle ultimately because they leave, they don't stay. Capturing 4 and killing many people. 3 or 4 other junks went aground in escaping. In one of those which we captured was a son of the king of the Isle of Luzon. Wow! So Ophir retaliated from the king against Spain for burning their villages, demanding tribute in a territory that was not theirs to claim, which is evil. There's no other way to look at that. You don't demand tribute. You should come bearing gifts, or maybe asking for favor, or having something to trade with, like the Navy of Solomon did, and installing false idols. Yes, we'll get there. We will definitely get there soon. This wasn't just an attack of merchant ships, but the son of the king of Luzon. This was Ophir taking a stand. This was a battle. This was war. Though Pigafetta places a twist on it, Spain did not win because they left and eventually returned with greater force years later. But they did not conquer the Philippines in 1521. They failed and returned with a crew of only 18 left, with their tails between their legs reeling. And that's because of what happened largely in the Philippines. No wonder the Portuguese did not attack Ophir, Sheba, and Tarshish. The term junk may be used to cover many kinds of boats, ocean-going, cargo-carrying, pleasure boats, live aboards, and it says they vary greatly in size. Well, except for Pigafetta describes the size of these junks in the Philippines as the same size of the Spanish ships. I'm pretty sure Pigafetta knew how large the ship was he was on. At least that. If they don't want to give him credit for anything else, at least he would know that. So really, this is irrefutable. And there are significant regional variations in the type of rig. However, they all employ fully battened sails. The term junk, Portuguese, Dutch, Spanish, all have their renditions of it, was also used by European explorers for large, unrelated, native Austronesian warships. They're talking about Pigafetta especially. Like the Philippine caracal. Actually, that's not Pigafetta, that's later, but that's a junk. The caracal is a junk. We have pictures of that. It's above. Illustration of the caracal. That was no small ship. And Maluku Korokora, down in Malaysia, and those areas. The term may stem from the Chinese chuan, boat, ship, also based and pronounced as chun, if we even say it, maybe it's shun, in the Minnan variant of Chinese, zhao. The old word for a sailing vessel. Junk entered the English language in the 17th century through the Portuguese junco, from the Malay jong or Javanese jong. The modern standard Chinese word for an ocean-going wooden cargo vessel is cow. Views diverge on whether the origin is from a dialect of Chinese. Pierre-Yves Menguen, amongst others, points to an old Javanese origin. The word jong can be traced from an old Javanese inscription in the 9th century. So, where's that inscription? The Chinese. It entered Malay language by 15th century, when a Chinese word list identified it as a Malay word for ship, not Chinese. The Malay Maritime Code, first drawn up in the late 15th century, uses junk frequently as the word for freight ships. So get this, Pigafetta uses Filipino words to identify the Balangay, the Bigdanay, the Tungulis, and practically all the ships of the Philippines. But when it comes to this ship, the largest, he only calls it by its European name. No, it's not its European name, nor is it its Chinese name. It's its Filipino name. One would think, especially since they captured the governor of Palawan in his junk and the king of Luzon's son in his junk, that perhaps the great historian would have bothered to ask what they called their largest staple ship. Seems rather negligent scholarship unless one considers that the term junk does not originate from the Chinese, who were not the first to design and build ocean-going vessels at all, especially like this, nor the Malays, but actually the Ophirians, who were the far more likely origin of these junks, even in far more ancient times, both the word and the ship design. Even Chinese history alludes to this. In the 3rd century, Chinese history says, Filipinos showed up in their ports to trade, not the other way around. China never conquered the Philippines. That is ludicrous. Some actually claim there's a debate regarding the South China Sea, but history leaves no room for debate. Maps leave no room for debate. It's ludicrous. It is a false claim, period. Ophir, Philippines ruled that sea long before China even had an ocean-going vessel. And even calling it the South China Sea is not accurate to true history. And by the way, this was 500 years before the Chinese had an ocean-going vessel. So not just a little margin. Same in Canton, where the Filipinos arrive 982 AD, the first to come there, not the other way around. It is so laughable that there are other channels out there propagating this myth, but it most certainly does not come from history, just propaganda. Again, that's according to Chinese history. I'm sure they'll rewrite that too, though. So one last thing, what happened to these junk ships in the Philippines? I mean, why have none been found yet in archaeology? And they have not. This is the Caracal. No, not karaoke Filipinos, just teasing. This ship could carry hundreds of rowers and warriors, so it was no joke. And it is recorded as significantly faster than the Spanish vessels. It wreaked havoc on their navy. By the end of the 16th century, the Spanish denounced caracal, junk, shipbuilding, and its usage. So we have a benchmark for what a junk is. It's pictured right here, illustrated by the Spanish. It later led to a total ban of the ship and the traditions assigned to it. Yep, just like the rest of Ophirian history, of course. They attempted to wipe it out. And here you have more proof of that happening. The Spanish decommissioned these ships, and you will not find them. They did not build a museum to memorialize these ships that wreaked havoc on their navy. They destroyed them, they decommissioned them, and they used the wood for other things. There was no way the Spanish were going to leave these ships sitting around, especially since they were rewriting history already at that point, or at least beginning to. And yes, this caracal is the junk the Spanish were referring to according to history. Here's one more confirmation, and here's another. The Portuguese also record Ophirians, or Lucos, trading in their junk ships. In this case, Fernando Pinto ran into one in Siam, otherwise known in modern times as Thailand. It's quite a ways from the Philippines. So yeah, they got around the seas back then. He ended up going to Luzon eventually because of all the stories of abundant gold there. As we keep saying and supporting over and over again, there is really no debating. The Philippines is the land of gold in all of history. It is time this knowledge be restored. For those about to comment in ignorance, yep, we always get them. We dare you to watch Solomon's Gold series by The God Culture, the original channel, to prove the Philippines is in fact Ophir and the Garden of Eden. Even here, we are breaking these into sound bites and clear points, but watch how all 100 clues tie together in history, the Bible, science, geography, archeology, language, etc. in this series will blow you away. Thank you for watching 100 Clues. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to click the bell. Like us on our new Facebook, The God Culture, space original. If you wish to skip ahead, go to the God Culture YouTube channel and watch our Solomon's Gold series in English or Tagalog. There will be a link on the next screen. We can know this truth and be confident this belongs to the Philippines, and no one can disprove it. Until next time.